My parents were getting on a little bit, they're getting quite elderly, and so we decided to take out power of attorney for both of my parents so that if anything happened that I would be able to deal with their financial affairs for them. So we did this, and a little while later my dad had a fall and had to go into hospital. Meanwhile, my mum had developed dementia, so she wasn't able to stay at home and look after herself. So the local authority found a care home for her, and because my dad was still living at home, her fees were partly funded through the local authority. We paid some because she has a pension, but some of the fees were funded through the local authority. That was fine for about a couple of years. But then my dad got more frail. He had a couple more falls. And he then decided that he couldn't really manage at home anymore and that he would also like to go into a care home. He wanted to be in the same care home as my mum so that they could spend some time together. But the problem was at this stage, because there was no longer going to be anyone living in their family home, that the local authority wouldn't pay the care fees any longer. Not only would they not pay them for my dad, but they would also stop paying them for my mum as well. So I talked to my dad about this, and we decided that we would have to sell the home in order to pay for the care fees. That was fine, but I was still rather concerned because the care home fees are quite high for two people, and I was worried how long the money would last before it would run out and what would happen then. So I was really looking to see whether there was some way of ensuring that the money wouldn't run out, and however long they lived, that they would still be able to stay in the care home that we'd found. One day I was on the computer, and I got onto the Paying for Care website. This had quite a bit of information on there, and as I was sort of scrolling through and looking for the information I wanted, all of a sudden a pop-up came up, and there was somebody there sort of asking me if I wanted any help, needed any help. So I clicked on that, answered a few questions, said a little bit, and so we had a sort of a live chat thing. And then after a while they suggested to me that perhaps somebody could telephone me so that we could look at it in a bit more detail. That's what happened. They phoned me back. They went into it and found a number of possible different alternatives that I could use. But in the end, the one that they recommended was to take out one of these immediate needs annuities, one for each of my parents, and ones that would go up a certain amount each year to take account of inflation. So I agreed to do that, went ahead, and the annuities are now in place. And it's taken a weight off my mind, really, because I can now be sure that my parents will be cared for as long as they need to be, and I don't need to worry about the money side of it anymore.
Part of the problem is there's a lot of misconceptions about what's going to happen when people go into care. There isn't a normal process that people go into when they go into this situation. You know, if you're selling a house, you know you've got to have a solicitor or an estate agent to help you go through that process. But people don't really know what the best thing is to do when, say, they have to put mum into care. So generally what they tend to do is they react to the situation, which is quite stressful very often, and then they make no further plans to do anything about it. So they can often then get very panicky because they start to realise that money's disappearing, and that actually causes a lot of stress and upset for people and insecurity. And of course, when people are a lot older, it's very important for them to be secure in their future. So it's so important that people get advice on that. And the ultimate goal really is to make sure that nobody outlives their capital when they're in that situation. So they will always be in control of their future. They can make decisions about where they're going to stay, and they're not being forced into situations that they really don't want to be in. Well, Pamela's actually is in a situation that so many people are now in. She's finding that her parents now need her to look after them, or at least look after their future and make decisions for them, because they're not able to do so themselves. And that's sort of like a role reversal, which people often find quite difficult. The good thing about Pam is that she had already read an article about immediate care plans or immediate needs annuities, and so she did know they existed, which was a good thing for her, because she then sort of set out to find out a little bit more about that. And I find that most people actually don't know they exist, so we have to try and help those people to know about them. So the way I helped Pam was really to be able to help her work out what the difference is between her parents' income that naturally comes in, so their pensions and attendance allowances and things like that, and the actual cost of care, and to identify this shortfall that they then need to use their capital to plug that gap. And so few people actually work that out as well, that, oh, well, actually we need to plug the gap from the capital. So once we'd established what that was, I then set about to try and find out the cost of an immediate care plan for both her parents. And once we've actually had the information come through, all the quotes come through, then I was able to advise Pam on whether it was affordable, which type of annuity would suit them, and whether or not that would leave them with enough capital afterwards, after they bought it, to deal with any other changes in their circumstances moving forward. So that's what I was able to do. She was absolutely delighted with the quotes. In fact, she felt they were really affordable. So we went ahead, got the care plan set up for her. Straight away they started paying the care home, so now she doesn't have that pressure anymore, worrying about how is she going to pay that invoice every month when it comes in. And we've been talking since then about what she might do with the remaining capital, because she now doesn't need to leave that in a cash deposit earning no interest at all. So she can actually do something a little bit more sensible with that money. The great thing about the Paying for Care website is it is very easy. It's particularly focused on paying for care, so there's lots of information there. And of course the live chat facility, which I man along with our team here, is extremely good, because then you might be trying to find an answer to something, you can't find it, and suddenly you get a little pop-up that says, well, do you want to ask somebody a question? And of course the question is relative to you, not a general question. So the live chat facility on the Paying for Care website is excellent. I think the feedback on it is extremely good, because people are finding, I get the answer to the specific question that I have immediately from somebody who understands.
Most people are making decisions about care at a point of crisis. And in a way, they're making the decision almost at the worst possible time. Some event will have happened in the family which causes the need for somebody to think about care. And quite often people have never thought about care before. If they have thought about it, they might assume it's the same as care in the NHS, healthcare. And they're quite often surprised to discover that you do have to pay for social care. Information is available, but it's not easy to find, and it's compounded by the fact that people are making those, or looking for information in order to make that decision at a difficult time in their lives. Being able to talk to an advisor on a one-to-one basis is really important, I would have thought, vital in fact. People often live in care homes for a lot longer than most people imagine would be the case. It's it's much more likely to be years than months. And the idea that moving into a care home is similar to a hospice probably isn't really an accurate way in which circumstances prevail. As a consequence, the period of time you're in and the amount you're paying can have a significant effect on your savings and how they might be depleted by the need for care and support. So anything you can do to protect yourself against that is going to be really important. I wouldn't want to alarm people that when your savings fall below a certain level, except to say that then you fall into the control of the local authority where the care home is based. And it will be for the local authority to make an assessment and make a decision about what should happen. So in a way, protecting yourself against that is obviously going to be in your interest. If you don't have that protection and your money runs out, you are at risk of either having to pay a top-up because the local authority believes that it's more expensive than they're willing to pay, or that they may expect you to move. Being able to get information that enables you to inform the decision and to make the choice on your own terms is really important. So having a good understanding about how the care sector operates, what costs might be involved, and the circumstances and the way in which you can protect yourself against the high cost are all things that Paying for Care will help with. Anything that provides better information to people in order to provide an informed decision has got to be good for them, good for everybody. And Paying for Care is one very good example of where people can go and get advice, specialist advice, informed to inform their decision, particularly about what care might cost and how they can protect themselves against the risk that it is a costly